Hey guys, it's Ben here. Lately I've been tossing around the idea of trying to spider rig. Now here in PA, you can only fish with 3 rods. So if you're by yourself, spider rigging really isn't the most effective because the most rods you can put out is 3. But when Nicole's with me, I can have 3 additional rods. So that means 6. So that means spider rigging would definitely be an effective way of doing it. Now, I looked online and all the setups for a spider rig, they're ridiculous. So $200, $300 some dollars for it. So I came up with my own spider rig way, and this is another DIY for you. Alright, so what we got going on is, this is a Lund, I believe it's an 05, and on my Lund, along the edge here, it has the built-in track system. I prefer using the built-in track system. Well, mostly I don't really care, but my dad cares how the boat looks. But the system I came up with works with the track system here. And I'll show you the end product here. Something like this. Total money in one of these, well, total money I have into this project right now is $30. And I mean, that's way less. At the end of the day, I'll probably be closer to 50 once I get a couple more of these cheap rod holders to mount. But I'll show you what you need, I'll show you the measurements you need to get, and then you can build your own. Stay tuned. Alright, so the first thing we got here is I have one of my Berkeley rod holders here. It's just a cheap plastic one. I have it mounted onto one of my movable Lunds. Now, this rod holder here, it can go vertical, you can loosen that nut, you can go out like that. It's just a cheap rod holder, I have it attached to the Lund system here that lets it slide along the track. The first measurement you need to get, though, is directly through this rod holder down to the floor of your boat. For me, it was just under 19 inches. And I wanted that to sit up a little higher than that, so I cut my first piece of PVC pipe at 21 inches. Now, you can get a 10-foot section of PVC pipe for only, I think, $3.97 is what I paid for it. So super cheap. If you buy it in shorter lengths, you're just wasting your money. Go for the 10-foot section. Even if you don't use it all, you'll find a use for it later on. But you start out with that, and then you cut it to your base, the height you want it. And so it sits in there just like that. And then once I assemble the top will sit there. Now what you need for the top was, and I needed to make 2 of these, so at 21 at the top, that left me at 19.5 inches to cut 4 equal length parts for my top piece. And once you do that, you just attach it to a T like that, and you got that there. And you put it on. Now, as you can see here, I kind of over-engineered this. I added a 1-inch dowel rod and threaded through the PVC pipe. So whenever I attach my rod holders to this, I'm not just holding on to the PVC pipe, I'm also there's a piece of dowel rod in there. Once you have that cut and everything else, and you have this all assembled, you have your dowel rod in there, you don't need to use glue or anything to hold this dowel rod in there. This dowel rod literally runs from this end to this end non-stop. You can see it in there. But what I did is, where I wanted to mount my rod holders, I drilled 1/4-inch holes. I have 4 on this one, I have 4 on the other one. Once you drill your holes, then it's as simple as attaching the rod holder. And I'll show you that here in a minute. Hang on. Alright guys, so what we have here are just the cheap rod holders. They're $4.99 at Dick's Sporting Goods. How I have them attached is I kept the washer that comes with it, and then you can see the little pedestal base that comes with it too. But I discarded the bottom, kept that washer on top, ran a 2-inch bolt through here, added a 1/4-inch nut on the bottom and a 1/4-inch washer there, and tightened it down. Now you can use a wing washer so you can tighten and loosen so you can take it apart for easy storage, but I just like it like this. Once you figure out the angle, the easiest way to figure out the angle is to actually put a rod in it and to see if you like the angle before you crank it down. But for what I was planning on doing, I wasn't too particular about the angle, but I got the angle figured out. But now that you got your rod holder attached, and back over here, you have your base sitting in here already, but you can take that out. Attach your PVC pipe, and imagine your rod holder sitting here. You're good to go. Well, there was one problem, and this was, I only chose to do it like this because I didn't want to add anything. I didn't want to actually physically screw anything to the boat. And I'll show you this here. On the back of this rod holder, there are 2 little clasps. One right here, right there, one right there. And I added 2 screws. And what that screw does, it keeps it from spinning. Now, I could have spread them out a little more, I know, but it holds it there. It's not, it spins, but it doesn't spin enough. Now that's how I did that. This way you don't have to screw anything to the boat or anything. Tool-wise, you need a drill for drilling your holes. You need 2 screws if you have these kind of rod holders. If not, then you're gonna have to figure out some way of a different way of attaching it. I don't really have any advice to that without telling you to screw stuff into your boat or zip ties or something. The sun came out, that's why my sunglasses are on. But I can tell you, these are PVC pipe cutters. Makes cutting this thing that much easier and that much faster. Hacksaw works just as good. The other thing you need is, of course, a beverage of your choice. Miller Lite. Hope you guys like this video. Let me know what you think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, guys.